Hi, my name is Lisa Hogben, and I've been a cover photographer for Time magazine and a photographic contributor to many international and Australian publications over the last 25 years. As a photojournalist and documentary maker, I have photographed in pretty much every kind of situation imaginable. From backstage at Fashion Week to the most remote locations in Australia, I have been lucky enough to have seen it all through the lens of a camera. This course is about guiding you through the potentially endless forest of camera types, jargon, technology and techniques to arrive at a point where you can confidently understand and develop a personal aesthetic that will help you create better pictures no matter what the subject. Photography is one of the most democratic of art forms, and today pretty much everyone has a camera. You only have to look at Facebook to know that everyone who can shoot a selfie or what they're having for lunch with an iPhone considers themselves a photographer. As they are in the pure sense of the word. A person who takes a photograph is by definition a photographer. But a person who makes an image that can stop someone and get them to look harder and to think and feel, well, that's a great photographer. So what is it that makes a really great photo a really great photo? Ultimately, it's not the machine that we use, but the eye that dictates what it captures. And by the completion of this course, I want you and all of my students to start creating images that say something meaningful to yourself and others as well. Through understanding how a camera works, what buttons do what you have to do to create certain effects, and how to effectively edit photos to evoke a feeling or create a story, you will have the tools you need to be a better photographer. A lot of the information in this course can be sourced pretty easily on the internet. In fact, I will be putting up several links to photographers whose work that I admire, examples of photos that show particular techniques, and we will road test some of the equipment that you might find handy to use. But a lot of the information you find on the net can be confusing and difficult to understand. What I will do is simplify the information so that it is as user-friendly as possible. I will expose the best way to make an exposure. So to begin, we will look at what sort of cameras there are out there, what is the most appropriate way to use them, and what their advantages and disadvantages might be to the photographer. We'll then go over the basics of how to create an exposure, and by learning what different camera functions do, we can make choices about creating different techniques and effects that will enhance your unique vision. Looking at the long list of the bits and pieces that you can utilise in photography that can be of assistance or not, depending on what you want to photograph, can be as confusing as looking inside the engine of a car if you are not a mechanic. So we will examine what are some of the essential bits of equipment all potential photographers need. Flash photography is one of the most difficult concepts to understand, so we will look closely at some of the many different things we can do with flash. Central to making any great photograph is having an affinity for what you are shooting. Over the course of a few lessons, we will look at what you are interested in and how best to photograph that subject. Then it's on to producing the photograph. While much has changed since the advent of digital cameras, photographic negatives still need to be processed, and by using the basic darkroom programs such as Photoshop, we can create something more than what we envisaged when we first looked through the camera viewfinder. Finally, as half of the joy of photography is sharing your images, we will be having a brief look at the many different ways that you can do that in the internet age. In the next lesson, we will look at the different sorts of cameras that you can use. So until then, happy snapping.